Heaven is a world of love. So said Jonathan Edwards in a famous sermon by that title. His text was our verse for today, 1 Corinthians 13, verse 13. Paul writes, "And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." Faith, hope, and love is a trio that Paul uses often in his letters to describe the Christian life. Faith looks back with confidence to Christ who came once to take away our sin. Hope looks forward to the day that Christ returns to restore the universe. And love is our posture now as we live between Christ's first and second coming. But here Paul tells us that the greatest of these things, the greatest of these three, is love. The life we get to live now, the life of love, is the life of the future. And so verse 13 brings this chapter full circle. Paul began by berating the Corinthians for their neglect of love. As we saw, they held up the ecstatic worshipper, the profound prophet, and the stoic do-gooder as their models of true spirituality. But Paul maintains that none of these mean anything without love. And so now he concludes this chapter by looking to the future, and he judges our present priorities in the light of this world of love that is coming. You see, if heaven is a world of love, how can we claim to be heavenly and yet loveless? And when we know that a heaven of love is coming, how can we spend our time investing in gifts and outward performances? As he says from verse 8, love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when the perfection comes, the imperfect disappears. So Paul says, look, gifts, they are like a torchlight. A torchlight in the dark is extremely useful. But at noonday, when there's blazing sunshine, that swallows up the torchlight. In the same way, we are heading towards something so glorious that it swallows up all our paltry gifts. Our gifts are like torchlight in the darkness. And even the most dazzling and impressive gift today will be utterly obsolete when Jesus Christ returns. Can any of us imagine being face to face with Jesus and saying, "Hey Jesus, watch me speak in tongues. Hey Jesus, let me tell you my wisdom. Hey Jesus, listen to me preach." Right? No, of course not. We will shut our mouths and we will gaze face to face on love himself. You see, the life to come is a world of love that swallows up the torchlights of all our little services and all our little gifts. Allow Jonathan Edwards' description to whet your appetite. This is from his sermon, Heaven, a World of Love. Edwards says, "Love is always a sweet principle, and especially divine love. This, even on earth, is a spring of sweetness, but in heaven it shall become a stream, a river, an ocean. All shall stand about the glory of God, who is the great fountain of love, opening, as it were, their very souls to be filled with those effusions of love that are poured forth from his fullness. Just as the flowers on the earth, in the bright and joyous days of spring, open their blossoms to the sun to be filled with his light and warmth, and to flourish in beauty and fragrance under his cheering rays. And thus they will love, and they will reign in love. And thus, in the full sunlight of the throne, enraptured with joys that are forever increasing and yet forever full, they shall live and reign with God and with Christ forever and ever." We have seen the future, and the future is love. Therefore, let us not be distracted by the torchlights of our paltry gifts and performances. Instead, let us live in the sunshine and let us pass it on. At the end of the day, only love counts.